Okay, so let's see let's see what's going on here. Obviously, this is fair use with our commentary. But a lot of times this needs to be appealed, so I'm assuming the other stream probably won't be available until after I appeal it again, so it can be a process on YouTube. Quite a slow, annoying process, but let's pick up right where where we left off, and if it goes down again, we'll just go part 8 until we finish this.
Start things off.
Is the audio working?
Private Adams.
Fair use.
Someone I think that you'll recognize has something he wants to say to you, Mr. President.
I mean, we'll probably have to do, I mean, I don't know, this might turn out to be 100 parts. I mean, how many Steven Seagal receipts are, I mean, how many receipts are possible? I mean, I don't know. We've been digging them up for over 20 hours now. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know how many people we had in here before. Hopefully everybody migrates over to this new stream on Seagal's birthday. Of course, they're trying to shut down the truth about Steven Seagal. That much is obvious. That much is obvious. This might end up being the longest running series in MINDSHOCK history. Alright, so let's continue here. I mean, this skit does not seem funny at all.
Good evening. I'm honored to have this opportunity to personally thank Private Reginald Adams.
I mean, I don't know. Did people think this was funny back in 1991? I mean, most of Saturday Night Live stuff today is not funny, so it doesn't really seem like there was a huge difference. Mad TV was kind of funny, though.
For your effort in the Persian Gulf. Without men like you, Private Reginald Adams, Kuwait would be less free.
Fair use. They'll probably still shut it down, even if I say fair use every 3 seconds.
And let's not forget the courage of your
Fair use.
beautiful wife, Mary.
Fair use. Is this funny? Does anybody find this funny?
No.
I mean, obviously they got that applause screen that pops up so all the NPCs can laugh, but...
Children. They waited faithfully at home in East St. Louis, Illinois.
I mean, he's mostly just making fun of the way George W., or actually this is George Bush Sr. This is George H.W. George H.W. Bush. Obviously, he did have a weird manner of speaking. I mean, this one looks even more satanic than the actual George H.W. Bush. Well, the reason I don't want to skip... First of all, I don't know which parts are Seagal parts or not. So, yeah. Also, you know, now they made it kind of personal. Because, you know, shutting this down with fair use. But we do want to do a comprehensive examination.
So...
But yeah, everybody be prepared to switch over to a new stream if this one also goes down.
happy that you've returned unharmed. Thank you. God bless.
I never get tired of watching that.
I mean, this is just weird. I mean, I don't know.
So, are you enjoying your farm?
Yeah, it's okay. That's great.
I mean, how is this funny?
You know, while stationed in the Gulf, the only way Private Adams could keep in touch with loved ones at home was by talking on the telephone or by writing letters.
Wow. How astute. I mean, that's just incredibly astute.
Here to read one of the letters he wrote to his best friend, Ernie Phillips, is America's legendary leading man, Mr. Charlton Heston.
December 12th, 1990.
I mean, maybe they call... I mean, this might... I mean, the non-Seagal parts here, I mean, these are really, really cringeworthy.
Dear Ernie, 3 months in the Arabian desert,
Fair use.
and man am
Did I mention this was fair use?
I horny.
This is fair use.
I think I'd lose my mind if it weren't for masturbation. At first, I tried to hide it, but now it's so out in the open, there's no point. Everyone's doing it. Enlisted men, officers, even the press corps. If you ask me, this whole operation is one big wankathon. Well, I'd better sign off as I have to get back to work.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell whether they're just making fun of the war? I don't know. It's just weird.
Signed, Reginald Lee Adams, PFC.
Fair use. It's also kind of interesting because Seagal mentioned morals and ethics at the beginning and real warriors. And it's almost like this whole thing is just kind of weird.
Private Adams, how does it feel to have a great actor like Charlton Heston reading your words?
Well, it was an honor. Who picked that letter?
Mr. Heston did.
I wonder how much Seagal... I mean, I wonder how much he knew, because I don't think he ever really even... Other than saying that he hosted the episode in 1 or 2 episodes, he never really talked about all of this behind-the-scenes stuff. Heracles in the chat says, I think they just want to besmirch all that Seagal stands for. It is interesting. Was the smear campaign... This is actually before the interview we went over. The interview we went over earlier was 92. This is 91. Right after Out for Justice... Or Out for Justice is currently in theaters, #1 in theaters, at the time of the airing of this episode. So, yeah, it is interesting if they were plotting his downfall because they couldn't control him. Guys, he's not going to wear their dresses.
When our friends, the Kuwaitis, heard we were doing this tribute, they asked if there was any way they could participate. So here to present you with a gift is Kuwaiti
Fair use.
Prince Fahid Al Sabah and his wives.
Fair use. Did I mention this was fair use, YouTube?
Mr. Reginald Adams, the Kuwaiti people would like to thank you for your effort. While I was in exile at the Sheraton Hotel in Monaco, I often thought of you fighting on my behalf.
I mean, do people really find this funny? I mean, do NPCs just find this funny because they were told to find it funny?
Therefore, in recognition of your efforts, a concrete step in the freshwater jacuzzi in my newly constructed winter palace will bear your name.
What an honor. What an honor. And now, here to sing a song he wrote just for you, please welcome Tony Orlando and the Yellow Ribbon Dancers.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure what they're trying to achieve here. I mean, is this really just some mockery disguised as a legitimate comedy show?
I'm Private Adams and I'm back.
I mean, it really does make sense why all these people hate Seagal. Because he actually stands for something. He actually has character and integrity and, of course, comedic ability that they can only dream of.
I'm 24, 5'9", and I'm black.
There he is.
I've got 20/30 vision, and my blood type is AB. I can't wait to see my old friends at 320 East Boulevard.
I mean, how is this funny? It's just weird. I mean, this whole thing's kind of cringe. And they think Seagal's not funny?
In East St. Louis, everybody, come on! Taya, yeah. And for Private Reginald Adams.
I mean, these people all probably really hated Seagal because Seagal can't be manipulated. He's not in their club, and he doesn't want to be in their club.
He's 5'9" and allergic to penicillin. Come on!
Because as we went over, you know, obviously Hollywood is, you know, they pursued Seagal, not the other way around.
Join in!
Because Ovitz, the #1 agent in Hollywood, just happened to be buddies with Seagal and basically said that, you know, he was just so impressed with Seagal, he thought he would make a good movie star. And then he introduced him to the Warner Brothers head of the studio. They wanted to make the movie with Seagal. I mean, how is this funny? Fair use. Fair use. This is extremely fair use.
Be a material
This couldn't be any more fair use than it is.
transport specialist, fix armored personnel carriers, and get married at 17.
Get married at 17? Yeah, that's absolutely hilarious. I mean, how could that not be funny?
If I don't see a yellow ribbon for Reginald Adams PFC.
I mean, what? What is this? I mean, Seagal is literally the only funny guy in this whole thing. I mean, actually, Chris Farley's not in this skit, but Chris Farley's actually really funny.
Return with the gymnast from Republic of China and the illusions
There he is.
of Doug Henning when an all-star celebrity
There he is.
tribute to Private First Class Reginald Lee Adams continues.
There he is. Still fair use. And still fair use. Is it glitching? Kill the Bank says it is glitching. No, stream, actually, yeah, the stream is dropping a little bit. Man, should I just not have done that NASA occult patches episode? It seems that everything on YouTube kind of went downhill from there. Mr. 1-to-1 is in the UK, doesn't know what Saturday Night Live is a comedy skit show. If you've heard of Mad TV, it's kind of the unfunny version of Mad TV. Fair use. Still fair use. And believe it or not, it's still fair use now as well. Also, fair use. Vanilla Ice? What? And this is still fair use as well. We're still commenting on it. We're not just watching, we're commenting.
Live from Compton, California.
Still fair use.
BET TV, that's Black Entertainment Television, presents The Dark Side with Nat X. The only show on TV written by a brother, produced by a brother, that's strictly for the brothers.
Still fair use.
Now get ready for a man who's so black he sweats oil. Step back, 'cause here comes Nat
Still fair use.
Peace, brothers and sisters. I'm Nadex, and welcome to the dark side, the only 15-minute show on TV. Why only 15 minutes? Because if the man gave me anything less, it would be a commercial.
Is that what?
I think we all know who the man is. I'm talking about the same man that calls a white mouse a pet and feeds it cheese and calls a black mouse a rat and tries to kill it. I'm talking about the same man that invented the game of pool, a game that isn't won until the white cue ball knocks all the colored balls off the table. All right, it's Saturday night. You know what that means. It's time for viewer mail.
Was that funny? I mean, whenever Seagal's not on the screen, it appears this comedy show is not actually funny.
Sandman, come out and read me a letter.
I mean, no wonder they all hated Seagal and thought he was the worst host, because he exposed them all as the Illuminati shills they are. I mean, I'm not 100% sure about Farley, though. I don't know. What does everybody think about Farley? Big thanks to Justin Johnson in the chat here. Gifting out the memberships, helping promote MindShock, the greatest podcast in the history of existence, no doubt. And Steven Seagal, possibly the greatest human in the history of existence.
Tonight's letter comes from Eliza Cooper of Oakland, California.
I mean, I just said I'm not sure about Farley, and now he comes out in a clown costume. Clown. Clone. I'm not going to get over that coinky-dink. Why does clown sound exactly like clone? I mean, I just do not believe that is coincidental. I do have a podcast coming up on clowns and all of the Illuminati symbolism connected to clowns.
And she writes, Dear Nat, you seem like a very tense man. What do you do to relax?
But controlled or not, Farley was actually kind of funny in general. I mean, obviously I haven't seen all the skits.
Well, little girl, when I have time off, I like to go bowling.
I mean, this just really isn't funny. I mean, call me crazy, but I don't know. This is just weird.
You see, there's nothing I like better than taking that big black ball and throwing it into those 10 white pins with the red necks.
I mean, is this supposed to be funny?
You're not gonna get me! You're not gonna get me! That's what you want to see! That's what you want to see! Boy, haven't had that much fun since Aunt Jemima took that rag off her head. All right, now it's time for the top...
Fair use. Still fair use.
Top 5 list. Why 5? Because 10 would make the man lose sleep. Tonight, the top 5 reasons the LA cops beat up Rodney King. Reason number 5, they hate paperwork.
What?
Reason number 4, thought he was Mexican.
That's an interesting reason.
Reason number 3, trying to impress Jodie Foster.
What?
Reason number 2, upset over the portrayal of white people on In Living Color. And the number 1 reason the LA cops beat up Rodney King, they just saw New Jack City.
Fair use. Fair use. Benjamin Coyston saying they could never do this today. I mean, they still do all this race-baiting NPC type comedy, even on Saturday Night Live.
And that's the top 5. Now let me hurry up with the show before the man pulls the plug on me. My only guest tonight is one of the most controversial comedians in the country. Please welcome Andrew Dice Clay.
Fair use. Still fair use. We're still commenting here.
It's a beautiful thing.
Sit your white ass down.
What?
How you doing, Nat? It's nice to be on your show here.
I mean, it's like Seagal is hilarious whether he's trying or not, unlike all these other comedians.
I'm glad you could make it, Mr. Dice. I understand you got a lot of free time on your hands since Ford Fairlane.
What are you talking about? Fort Fairlane was one of the best movies ever made, and I kick any movie butt that you could say that didn't make that kind of money.
Well, I'm not saying it was a bomb, but last week the Ku Klux Klan tried to tie one of these under my car.
It wasn't my fault. It was the critics. You know, the critics, they're just a bunch of overpaid.
So what's up next for the Dice Man? You got a movie coming out this summer?
No.
I mean, his delivery really is something else. Like, I don't think anybody can deliver this kind of deadpan.
How about next summer?
No, but I'm amazing anyway. Just because I treat the chicks like the pigs that they are.
So are you gonna go see a movie?
Hey, I ain't see you any movies, and what's the afro anyway? You look like Link from the Mod Squad. Oh, it's 1991.
Oh, it's 1991. I mean, Seagal really could play any character.
You know, why don't you cut it square? Bada bing. Oh.
All right, cracker boy. I got a nursery rhyme for you. There once was a whitey named Dice who looked like Fonzie on steroids. Blah, 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 blah. My big black foot in your ass.
I mean, it is kind of hilarious that Steven Seagal's funnier than Chris Rock, and Chris Rock is the supposed comedian. I mean, the way Seagal delivers literally all the lines, I mean, it's just hilarious, just his delivery. It almost doesn't even matter what the line is. Still fair use here.
Oh, hey, Dice, maybe you'll be in Grease Part 3. Tune in next week for Stupid White People Tricks. Peace!
Still fair use. I mean, Seagal could totally play Elvis as well.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
Still fair use.
I'd like to see a nude opera, because when they hit those high notes, I bet you can really see it in those genitals.
I mean, how is that funny? What? Like, who writes that? Still fair use. This is fair use.
Life After Desert Storms.
Still fair use.
Sunday on the Night Beat at 11.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Bolton.
I mean, the inflection even on Bolton. I mean, Seagal was just born to be entertaining. He should get in a fight with Michael Bolton. That would be hilarious. Denise says, degenerates write it. I mean, yeah, and degenerates seem to really hate Seagal.
First love, I don't think twice. But simply spread their wings.
Still fair use.
The sun shines, it don't last a while. Oh, what the whole thing means.
Still fair use.
The same applies to you, love. We never question that.
And this is still fair use all this time later.
So good, it's understood. Ain't no conjecture, just a little bit fact. Love is a wonderful thing.
Still fair use.
Make you smile through
Still fair use now as well.
the pouring rain.
I mean, look at that hairstyle. Is that hairstyle fair use or what?
Love is a wonderful thing.
I mean, those backup singers look fair use as well.
I
Oh, look at those jazz hands, fair use jazz hands.
Turn your world into one sweet dream.
Oh, look at that fair use microphone.
Take your heart and make it sing.
I mean, it's all fair use. Even that window in the background's fair use. Look at those microphone stands are also fair use. Look at that fan in the background, has to be fair use as well. Those dance moves look pretty fair use.
Only thing a river knows.
That drummer's fair use, and that whole drum set looks fair use as well. It's a pretty snazzy fair use drum set. Look at that fair use wall in the background there. That's definitely fair use.
Spring when the flower grows, it happens naturally.
Those window panes are all fair use. It's definitely a fair use guitar there. And a fair use amp as well. Look at that guy in the fair use vest in the background. All fair use. It's all fair use. Look like fair use pants as well. Wow, that's a fair use stage. With a fair use light above that fair use stage. And is there anything that isn't fair use about this? I mean, we're at the point now where we have to figure out what isn't fair use, because this is all fair use. All those speakers are fair use. I mean, everything's fair use. Even the fair use of the fair use is fair use. All fair use, all the time. I mean, there's nothing but fair use here. I mean, how can anybody argue that there's anything but fair use about this fair use stream? Fair use is fair use, Jeffrey Johnson. That is correct. And that saxophone is definitely fair use. I mean, look at that sax. I mean, does it get more fair use than this? Is it possible to have more fair use than this fair use, fair use? I mean, look at that fair use hat. I mean, that is definitely a fair use hat. I mean, it's all fair use. Justin Johnson's about to OD on the fair use. I mean, this is just, yeah, this is just a plethora of fair use. I mean, we might as well call this the Fair Use Show. I mean, at this point, this is no longer the Steven Seagal podcast, this is the Fair Use podcast of Fair Use. The Fair Use podcast of Fair Use. Nothing but fair use here. All fair use, all the time. Welcome to the Fair Use Podcast. This is Bruce Fair Use McGuire, and we are discussing fair use and using fair use on this Fair Use Podcast. It is all fair use, all the time. Nothing but fair use here. I mean, I think the name of the song is also fair use. I mean, look at that applause. Even the applause is fair use. The Fair Use continues here on the Fair Use Show of the Fair Use Podcast. All fair use, all the time here, fair use.
And now, Weekend Update with anchor person Dennis Miller.
Here's the Fair Use Weekend Update with Fair Use Dennis Miller. The subject is fair use.
Well, thank you. Good evening. And what can I tell you? Former President Richard Nixon said this week that if he were still in charge, he'd order the CIA to assassinate Saddam Hussein.
This is interesting. They have Steven Seagal hosting Saturday Night Live, and they're talking about CIA assassinations. You know, the more I start to dissect this particular episode of Saturday Night Live, it seems like this was tailored to Steven Seagal in some capacity. I mean, a combination of mockery, a combination of blowing the whistle.
Former president went on to say, but then again, I always enjoyed a good cover-up.
Always enjoyed a good cover-up? What? This is a weird episode, that's for sure. Fair use, still fair use.
Senator Edward Kennedy this week came down from a second-floor sex party he was attending in Boston.
What? A senator attending a sex... What are they trying to say here in 1991? What? We have CIA assassinations, cover-ups, and senator sex parties? What?
Answer questions about the Palm Beach incident. This is Michelle Cassone, a Palm Beach waitress who was one of the party guests at the Kennedy compound on the now notorious Friday night. Now, Michelle has been giving numerous interviews, appearing on all the talk shows, and if she hasn't milked it enough already, she announced this week that she might soon appear semi-nude in Penthouse magazine.
What the heck? These are some really weird sketches. All fair use, of course.
Guccione, don't do that to me, baby. You know, when I see Michelle, I wonder who was working the door at O Bar that night.
The heck? Still fair use, obviously, but this is weird. This is weird fair use.
You know, the parents of the victim of the alleged Kennedy compound sex scandal have announced plans to file suit against NBC News chief Michael Gardner for disclosing her name. Reached for a comment, an NBC spokesman said, if a lawsuit is inevitable, lay back and enjoy it.
What? I mean, does anybody else find this incredibly strange? Not funny at all, but very strange. I mean, Seagal is literally the only thing funny about this entire episode.
It was revealed this week that Kitty Kelly's national book tour to promote her Nancy Reagan book was abruptly canceled by her publisher, Simon & Schuster, when they learned she was receiving death threats for writing the book. Of course, you're all familiar with Kelly's book, The Reaganic Verses, which is now #1 on the bestseller list.
I mean, this is all so strange. Fair use, strange fair use.
Frank Sinatra told a concert audience in Phoenix on Thursday, I hope the next time Kitty Kelly crosses the street, 4 blind guys come along driving cars.
What? Who finds that funny? 4 blind guys driving cars to kill somebody? I mean, who finds this funny? Give me another second, the stream's dropping, let me make sure it stays up. Okay, we should be okay. Testing, okay.
Sinatra denied any connection to the quote to the fact that on Friday he bought Lincoln Town Cars for his friends Ray Charles, Jose Feliciano, Stevie Wonder, and Ronnie Milsap.
I mean, how is that funny?
You know, that Kitty Kelly book is so full of lies. Like Ronald Reagan was actually capable of helping Nancy run the government. Yeah, right. Thank you.
Wow. This is weird stuff. Fair use, fair use.
Now with an editorial on the Nancy Reagan biography, here is Mr. Subliminal. Welcome, Mr. Subliminal.
Mr. Subliminal, as in subliminal messages? I mean, they got CIA assassinations, cover-ups, Mr. Subliminal. I mean, can they make it any more obvious?
Last night, I finished reading this sickening piece of trash, Pulitzer. How could Kitty Kelly lie about such a fine and classy lady like Nancy Reagan?
I mean, was subliminal messaging even that big of a thing in 1991? They were really pushing this in 91? That's interesting.
I mean, what kind of position do you think this puts our First Lady in, doggy style? I mean, after all, this is the woman who taught us to just say no, Frank Sinatra. I mean, come on. Right? Ronald and Nancy had a special relationship. Abbott and Costello, sure, he might have listened to her opinions.
Fair use, fair use. I mean, this is really painful. Anytime Seagal's not on screen, it's quite painful instead of funny.
But if anyone had the last word,
fair use.
It was him. Yes, dear, let's face it.
Man, we're still fair use? This is still fair use. Wow, imagine that. It's still fair use.
I don't know how much of this book is true, 100%, but if any, it's good that we can get this information out of the closet, Murph Griffin. I have to be honest.
It's actually kind of weird, this particular skit. It's kind of weird because it's like he's revealing the truth is the complete opposite of what he's saying, as if making fun of all the news station and all mainstream media, including NBC here. I mean, it is kind of weird.
No, I gotta be honest with you. Seriously. I don't know anyone else that would purposely go out and try to hurt someone, LAPD, and instead of hounding this very respectable couple, senile, that are no longer, they're not even in public office, thank God, I think people like Kitty Kelly would do well to focus our attention on America's real problems, Kennedy's. Now, let me tell you.
I mean, this is pretty weird that as early as 91, these comedy shows are already kind of blowing the whistle. I mean, really weird.
Let me tell you something. As for me, heterosexual, I will never...
It's almost like, again, a form of mockery and rubbing it in the face of the peasants who just laugh at their own mockery. I mean, it's kind of sick and twisted in a way.
Ever recommend this book. See the movie. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. This is Subliminal.
Fair use, still fair use. All fair use, of course. Fair use.
Thank you, Mr. Subliminal. Too long.
Did he just break character there?
General Norman Schwarzkopf collapsed and fainted this week during a speaking engagement in Kuwait City. Secretary of Transportation Samuel Skinner held a news conference outside the U.S. Capitol after speaking with legislators in Washington. He told the crowd if Congress didn't agree with his views, he would swat them all with his giant hand.
Is that supposed to be funny? What? What? Just because he happens to have his hand up? What? I mean, this is painful.
In an effort to make up, the city of L.A. has sent beating victim Rodney King a gift for his birthday. It's a piñata shaped like an L.A. cop. And
how much did they milk the whole Rodney King thing for? Seems the media was oddly obsessed with that for quite a number of years.
Now a visit from Saturday Night Live's travel correspondent, his first visit, so please welcome Adam Sandler. Adam!
He looks like such a goof. Look at this fair use goof, fair use. I mean, that's a fair use goof if I've ever seen a fair use goof. Still fair use.
Hello, everybody. Saturday Night Live recently sent me to Greece to see if it's a good place for our home viewers to spend their summer vacation. I gotta tell you, I had a blast there. I stayed at the Sheraton Socrates.
Now, we really have to, I can't fast forward because we have to really illustrate the comedic genius of Seagal and why all these other comedians hated him and said he was the worst host ever when there's really nothing funny going on whenever Seagal's not on the screen.
In downtown Athens, just 5 minutes from the Acropolis, and whoa, man, my room was just unbelievable. I had like everything, a color TV, and 2 twin beds, and a big bathroom with a phone right next to the toilet, and just a cool refrigerator.
How is this funny? What? Like, how did people find young Sandler funny? I mean, Happy Gilmore is a pretty decent film. I mean, I'll give him Happy Gilmore. Billy Madison's also kind of funny. But, I mean, not too much else. I mean, Happy Gilmore was kind of a quality comedy film, but, I mean, how is he funny here? Like, who thought he was actually funny here?
There were, like, sodas and candy in it, and, I mean,
oh, wow. The hotel room had beds and soda and candy. Wow.
People in Greece really know how to treat you, so right away, I started jumping up and down on the beds, you know, and they were like extra springy or something. I mean, I was getting great height. I was really, like my face was coming inches from the ceiling.
Wow. I mean, that's a knee slapper right there. And these are the people who think Seagal was the worst host?
It was getting scary, man. I probably could have hurt myself, but I figured, hey, you know, how often do you make it to Greece, right? So, then, you know.
What?
You know what I did? I went into the bathroom, and I took one of those little sample shampoos and the free shower cap they give you, and I made like a paratrooper out of it, and I named him Captain Prell, and I just threw him out of the window, man.
Wow. Wow, this is the most unfunny fair use, unfunny skit I think I've ever seen from Sandler. I mean, is there anything funny about Sandler here?
And he really took off. I saw him float for a little while, but then I lost sight of him because it was too dark out. The next day, I went down to get him, but I couldn't find him. Maybe someone else picked him up or something, but I'll never know.
Wow. Wow. I mean, there are people that are actually fans of this guy in this era?
It's weird, you know.
It's weird. Yeah, it is weird. Fair use. This is all fair use.
Getting back to Greece, when I came back towards
still fair use.
My hotel room, there was this guy in front of me who kept turning around and looking at me, right?
Is the bit that he's not funny? Is that what's supposed to be funny? How unfunny he is? I mean, I'm not following here. Is there anybody in the chat following? Like, what's the actual bit here?
His room was 2 away from mine, so he thought I was following him. It was fun to watch how nervous I was making him because I was behind him. So then I just started following people throughout the whole hotel, you know.
That's supposed to be funny? What is going on?
Follow them to the pool or the sauna or something. I'd just sit next to them. I'd stare at them. When they leave, I'd follow them back to their rooms. I did this to like 8 people. One lady snapped at me and yelled at me, "Will you get away from me?" It kind of frightened me a little, so I didn't say anything back. But
is this really supposed to be funny? Like, what's the gag here?
I just went up to my room. I watched Bull Durham on a pay-per-view channel. It was pretty good. I've seen it before, but not in Greece. So I think I liked it better over there, which I don't know what it was. Anyway, after the movie, I started getting real hungry, so I got a Milky Way and a Coke out of a little refrigerator. I love Milky Way.
Like, what's the bit, though, that he's just not funny?
The chocolate and the caramel, and I just watched MacGyver, and it was a great one.
Still fair use.
MacGyver got trapped somewhere, but then he got out. You know, he always does, man.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Wow. MacGyver gets trapped and gets out. I mean, that's a good one.
Makes weapons out of nothing, this guy. He's pretty cool. You gotta... Then I fell asleep, but when I woke up, my final morning, the TV was still on, so I caught the tail end of Hawaii Five-0. And...
Oh, man. I mean, this is rough. This is rough.
Went down to check out at a hotel, and I stopped at the lost and found desk before leaving, and I asked them if they found my paratrooper guys, but they didn't have it. Even so, I had a really great time at Greece, and I recommend it highly to all of you. Dennis?
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
That might have been one of the worst bits I have ever watched.
Thank you, Polly.
Maybe I was a little hard on Mr. Subliminal.
Still fair use here. We are still fair use.
Here we see 4 nuns, members of a religious order who were caught smuggling 22 pounds of cocaine in Ecuador last Tuesday. Talk about your nasty habits. I believe on the right, that's Sister Guadalupe Scarface.
Okay.
They smuggled the blow. I'm the bad guy. All right.
Still fair use.
The McDonald's company this week announced plans to cut back on its garbage, a 40-step program that will reduce its daily generation of 2 million pounds of garbage by 80%. The company plans to trim the size of its paper napkins, replace ketchup packets with stainless steel dispensers, introduce refillable coffee mugs, and, quote, begin to make our milkshakes with a...
Heracles in the chat saying, this feels like a high school talent show with mandatory participation. Oh, my friend, you're giving them too much credit. I would put them at middle school. This seems more like a middle school talent show with mandatory participation.
Liquid from our own planet. And firefighters in Kuwait who are still putting out the hundreds of burning oil wells claim the Iraqis are not fully to blame. They suspect Donnie Wahlberg started the fires during the New Kids last tour. Guess what?
Okay.
But folks, that's the news, and I am out of here.
Still fair use. Still fair use. Did I mention this was fair use? I don't think I mentioned fair use enough times.
Hello, I'm Casey Kasem. You know, tonight in the #1 spot, a little song for a good cause. A cause most people don't even think about. It all began when TV and radio personality Rick Dees and retro psychedelic singer Lenny Kravitz walked into a famous LA bistro.
Still fair use.
They ordered a Caesar salad. But the famous chef told the hungry duo he couldn't prepare a Caesar salad because the raw eggs so vital to the dressing were not from free-range chickens.
That's supposed to be funny? What? And these are the people trashing Seagal?
Rick Dees flew into a rage, saying chickens are like you and me, except they're chickens.
Wow. Wow. I mean, this is crazy. These are the people that say that Seagal was the worst host?
He and Kravitz called recent Oscar winner Whoopi Goldberg. She said, listen, my man, we've got to do something. Something for the millions of chickens all over the country who live in tiny, overcrowded pens. Together, they gathered some of the biggest names in the music industry. The result you're about to see. The title is simple.
Still fair use.
Musicians for free-range chickens.
That's supposed to be funny?
Okay, everybody, let's do it.
Is that Chris Rock in drag? No surprise there. Still fair use.
That's too long. You see that something's wrong.
Still fair use.
There needs to be some.
I wonder if they asked Seagal to wear a dress, and there should have been there should have been a video camera on what happened to the individuals that asked.
Changes made. Now we just can't ignore
Still fair use, especially that guy's shirt in the back there.
the wrongs we've done before.
Still fair use.
To you and every egg you lay.
Still fair use. Did I mention this was fair use? I don't think we mentioned this was fair use enough times. I think some people might have forgot that it was fair use. The fair usage of this fair use. Oh, that's hilarious.